Hey guys, it is Kirsten with your March Party of Six. Been doing a lot of thinking this week on what I could do my podcast on and what kind of topic that might maybe intrigue my listeners and people can kind of relate to. And a topic that I want to talk to that really speaks volumes to me right now is toxic family members. Now, I hear a lot of people that, talk about, hey, you always want to make amends. You always want to make things right. You always want to make sure that they know you love them, that you care about them no matter what. Like, life's too short, family's everything, yada, yada, yada. Well, I'm not here to say that those people are wrong, but what I'm here to talk about tonight is my personal experience with toxic family members and what has made me turn into who I am and how I view things now. I'm an only child. So I come from a mother who met my father at a young age and became involved. I was the product of that, and basically she was a single mother and did it by herself until she met my stepdad. So, my mom is a very strong, independent woman. She's always been someone who's worked hard. She's always worked multiple jobs. She's done everything that she possibly can to keep food on the table and to keep a roof over my head and to make sure that I had everything I needed and that, she never asked for any assistance or anyone to help her or even asked my dad for child support. I mean, she could have easily taken him to jail, could have taken him to court, could have let him rot in jail for not paying child support, but that wasn't going to get him anywhere. It wasn't going to get me anywhere, and it certainly wasn't going to get her anywhere. So she just, she walked away from that. But my mom's family was not a fan of my father, and, I like to think that my mom kind of stands out from her family. And to explain that, it's basically my mom's family is from, up near the mountains, and everything up there is like one type of way. Everyone acts a certain way. Everything's just different about where she's from. And when she met my father, she was living down here closer to, Lancaster County. And after I came along and she'd kind of established herself down here, her grandparents who had raised her the latter part of her life, latter part of her adult or her young adulthood, childhood, moved. They moved back up to the mountains. My great-grandfather had passed away and my great-grandmother had decided to go back up with, closer to her family and where she could have some more support and, some more, just be around people that she knew and not in an area where she didn't have a lot of family or friends. So my mom stayed down here. So right there, she was already different from the rest of her family. She was the only one that lived outside of their area. She's the only one that decided to pursue something, out of the radius that they knew as home. So with that being said, my mom's always stood out from her family. Now, my aunts and uncles, I can't say that I do love them. I mean, my one aunt and I, we had a great relationship when I was growing up. I would go to her house and, I would stay up there for the weekends and they would take me to an amusement park and the pool, and it was just a lot of fun. And then as I got older, and they adopted, children of their own. Obviously, you don't get to spend as much time, and things change when you become a parent. I mean, it's not that anyone gets put on the back burner, but when you become a parent, I mean, essentially your kids become your life, and they are your number one priority. So basically, my mom's family, I was close with them to a point, but because they were almost 2 hours away, I mean, I didn't see them as often as I saw my real dad's family or my stepdad's family. I mean, I didn't have that close, relationship with them. Now, I was very close with my mom's grandmother, and she was my everything. When we would go up and visit, I mean, I would sit and talk to her for hours about, I mean, just anything under the sun. And she was an amazing woman. So when I was about, I want to say 11, she passed away. But, you know, before that, she had a stroke, and it left her pretty much immobile. I mean, she needed help. I mean, her whole one side, you know, she really couldn't talk. I mean, she was a completely different person. The stroke, she never recovered from the stroke, and unfortunately, she was the matriarch of our family. So after she died, you know, things started to change. Now, fast forward a little bit more, I'm a grown adult, I'm married, I have children. Relationships started to taper off, started to not be what they once were. Now, my mom's younger sister is, we share the same birthday, which is very interesting, because I used to think we were a lot alike, and I used to really, you know, value her as a person. But something changed when she had her own children. She was still that fun-loving person that I had always known. And as her children got older and they grew up and they, you know, got married and started their own families, things changed. The dynamic of the family changed. I don't know what exactly it was, but things changed. And I noticed that, you know, with my aunt, when I would talk to her and I would share conversations with her, and I would talk to her about ideas and thoughts I was having, maybe things that I wasn't talking to my mom about or I wasn't talking to other people about, she began sharing with her family and bringing them to other people's attention. And then I would hear it from someone else. I would hear, oh, well, so-and-so said you said this, and, you know, why are you thinking this? And you know, what are your explanations for your thoughts? And what, you know, why are you thinking this? And unfortunately, that really started to leave a sour taste in my mouth, because I kind of felt like I could talk to her about anything, and I could, you know, have a relationship with her different than my mother or different than, you know, a friend of mine, because I kind of looked at her like another mother. And, you know, things started to change. Now, my aunt is someone who lives out of her means. Her lifestyle is always about image and brands, and, you know, everything's got to be this way and everything's got to be that way, and it's really just you know, it's kind of, you know, a little, it's a bit much, because that's not how I view things. I don't view things on brands and how much things cost or what you have or what you don't have. I view things on, you know, what you have as a family, what you know, what you're surrounded by, like just the people and just how you live life on a daily basis. Now, my mom's mom and I, as a child, wasn't very close with her. As an adult, did become close with her. I was the firstborn grandchild, and I was the first grandchild to have her own children. And, you know, she really had a special place in her heart for my children. And, you know, for that, I'm very grateful, and I'm very blessed that she was able to have a relationship with pretty much all of them. I mean, our last child, she never got to meet. She passed away in April 2018 of throat cancer, advanced throat cancer. And we're very lucky that she didn't suffer as much as she could have, but it was still hard to watch her just slowly deteriorate, so to speak. I mean, she couldn't eat, you know, she couldn't swallow at a certain point, and it really, you know, became hard to watch her just kind of wither away to nothing. She was already a very small woman to begin with, and then to watch her, you know, die, and she weighed all of but 45 pounds, I mean, it was heartbreaking. But I always say that when family members die, especially people that, you know, the family looks up to. Now, my grandmother had 5 children. My grandfather passed away many years ago, so it was always just my grandmother. she has 2 boys, 3 girls. And like I said, my mother doesn't live up there. She lives here, and my mother works around the clock, and she doesn't get that chance to go up there and spend a lot of time. But she makes a lot of effort. She calls, she texts, she tries to meet up when she can. Family, get together. She does her best to make sure she can come, Christmas, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, any holiday we could try to get together, we did. And it just didn't seem to be good enough for my aunt. And my aunt had made it known from early on that she didn't think I should have any more kids, that it was too many kids. My mom was going to be having to help me. I was putting too much work on my mother. I was asking too much of my mother. And she was just very adamant on her opinion. After I had my son, her and I had a falling out, and some things were said. And I'm not going to say that I wasn't in the wrong, or that she wasn't in the wrong, but we both said some things that, upset the other person. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I'll be the first to mess up. I'll be the first to do something wrong, but I'm also usually the first to apologize and show remorse for my actions. I don't like to make anyone feel unappreciated, and I don't like to make anyone feel awful. So I usually feel guilty soon thereafter if something happens and if I upset somebody. Even if I'm not in the wrong, I still feel guilty. Well, when my aunt started having her opinions and saying things, and just the relationship was starting to really get sour, I found myself just not caring. I was just saying things, and I was angry, and I was just getting tired of it. Social media, I would put things on my social media, and her daughters would be trolling my page and assuming that it was about her or about them, and would report back to my aunt, and it was just, it was a shit show. I'm a grown woman, and I feel that if you feel that something is about you, or you feel that there's a problem, or you question someone's, antics or something that they're doing, then just go to the source and ask them. So when my grandmother became sick, my aunt couldn't handle it. Every other day she was crying, she was carrying on, she was making it about herself, which is usually what she does. That's the kind of person she is. My grandmother got sick. I put aside my problems with them, with her daughter, with both her daughters, and with herself, and tried to be the more mature person and try to be cordial, because knowing that my grandmother was ill and that she didn't have a lot of time left, I didn't want her to see that negativity. I didn't want to bring her in the middle of the problems, and I certainly didn't want to upset her. So I bit my tongue. I apologized. And I said, let's work through this. Life's too short. I apologize for anything I did. I hope we can move forward. Now, they said, we appreciate your apology, but they never said, I'm sorry for what I did. So again, it was always me saying I'm sorry, but them just taking the apology, but not saying, hey, I'm sorry if I did something. And, that kind of angered me, because why should I take the blame, and why should I feel bad for something that it wasn't only me that took part in? It takes 2 to tango. So when my mom got the call from my aunt that my grandmother took a turn for the worse, that she really, she went downhill. They found her unresponsive in her apartment. Her time was slowly, ticking away. My mom immediately took off work and said, I need to be with my mother. I mean, she's dying. I cannot not be there for her. I need to take a leave from work. So she went up there. She stayed with my other aunt. And her and my aunt, for the sake of not naming names, I'm going to say my Aunt Sally. Her and my Aunt Sally literally were by my grandmother's side night and day. My mom slept, next to her, in her room. I mean, she did everything she could to make sure that my grandmother knew that she was there and that, she loved her and that she would, she was going to be there for her till the end. And, I really appreciate that. And I really give a lot of credit to my mom because that's got to be the toughest thing, watching someone you love slowly die in front of you. And you can't really do anything about it. Only thing you can do is try to make them comfortable and let them know that you're here and that you love them. So during this time of my mom and my Aunt Sally being there, my other aunt really wasn't present. She lived, 10 minutes down the road. She didn't come really see them. She couldn't handle it. Her kids didn't really come. And it was really disgusting, in my opinion. And I really was taken back by it. When I was talking to my mom and I was asking her, like, has everyone been there? What's going on? And she said, yeah, they've come and gone, but, it's basically just been me and Kate. And my uncle has, he was there here and there, but I mean, he was as involved as he could be. My other uncle was incarcerated, so he couldn't be there. He's been incarcerated off and on his whole entire adult life and basically just, hasn't been present for a lot. And that's neither here nor there. You can't really change that. But when my grandmother took her last breath, my mom called me shortly after and said, she's gone. And I remember just, being really upset because I was upset that I couldn't be there. I felt awful because I should have been there. I should have done more, but my grandmother understood. She knew, and she knew. I had 3 little children. My husband works around the clock. I work. Like I just unfortunately, I couldn't be there, and I tried to spend as much time with her up until that point, and I talked to her as much as I could, and I sent her cards, and she knew that she was loved. I never not told her that I didn't love her. I mean, I'd like to think that she knew that I was always thinking of her and always, going to love her, no matter what. Now, when my grandmother passed away, my mom and her sister went to her apartment and started to go through her paperwork. My grandmother had picked the funeral home that she wanted her arrangements for. She picked her, she wanted everything taken care of. She didn't want to put a burden on anybody. My grandmother didn't have a lot. She worked her whole life. She was living on a fixed income. She lived in an income-based, elderly home. Very simple studio apartment. Pretty much, she's making, X amount of dollars, and most of it's going towards her living. And again, she never asked anything from anybody. And, she was just a very simple woman. Now, when they gathered all the paperwork and they looked at all the insurance policies, there was 3 insurance policies. There was one that was in the amount of $5,000 for each kid to get $1,000. So she has 5 children. Each kid would get $1,000. It was something for them to have. Again, she didn't have a lot. She wanted them to have something. She wanted to leave behind something. One was for the funeral home for to try to cover most of her funeral costs. And the other one was made out to my other aunt as a sole beneficiary for $3,000. Now, none of us knew about this life insurance policy. Nobody knew about it. And when my aunt was questioned, she claimed to know nothing about it. And that really was kind of surprising to us. Well, come to find out, she did know about it, and she did tell somebody that she knew about it, and it was kind of made into an ordeal. They say when family members die, especially grandparents, parents, anybody that is leaving behind a lot of people, money's always an issue of fighting. Money is always a problem. Someone is greedy. Someone wants money. Someone wants something out of it. Now, this wasn't a big life insurance policy. $3,000, let's face facts. $3,000 will pay somebody's mortgage for 1 month. That's nothing to write home about. Most people have life insurance policies. $50,000 plus. Now, here's my grandmother, a small life insurance policy, and it's made out to my one aunt, and no one knows why. Well, come to find out, my grandmother was paying that premium, so she was paying every month some ridiculous amount for this life insurance on a fixed income just so my aunt could have $3,000 when my grandmother passed away. My grandmother didn't want an obituary. She didn't want a funeral service. She wanted to be cremated, and she wanted it to be as simple as possible. When my mom and her siblings met with the funeral director and they were discussing what was going to happen, the aunt that had the insurance policy left to her was very rude and very cruel, and you could tell was very irritated because she thought that some of her money was going to have to go towards these expenses. And it really stirred up a pot. It stirred up some emotional and anger, and I know that it really upset me. Now, I could care less if I got any money from anybody when someone dies. I mean, I have life insurance. My husband has life insurance. We have our life insurance to amounts where if something happens with us being younger and our kids need to be taken care of, they're going to have everything they need to raise them, you know, and that's why we have our life insurance. We want to make sure our family's taken care of, our home is paid off, the kids have education money set aside. We want to make sure they're taken care of. Now, when someone dies and, you know, an insurance policy is taken out and nobody knows about it, it kind of makes you think, well, why wasn't it discussed? Why is it such a secret situation? And, you know, to this day, she still denies that she ever took the policy out and that she was ever involved in it. And we all know that that's not the truth. She's caused such a toxic presence in all of our family that we can't even have holidays together because she won't come to them. She has made it known that she doesn't like any of us and that she doesn't want to deal with us and that we're nothing but drama. I have to laugh about that because when my grandmother passed away, I had put a blurb on Facebook and I had said that I really appreciated my aunt and my mom and everything they did for her because I know that it wasn't easy to watch her and to be there when she took her final breaths. And I really just had a newfound respect for both my aunt and my mom because that's just, it takes a special person I just can't imagine. I mean, hospice workers, you guys are godsends because that's such a hard job. It's so hard to watch somebody suffer. I mean, I hope and pray that I never have to watch a close loved one do that because it's heartbreaking. So when I put something on my Facebook, immediately my cousin's husband comments on it, and he brings my mom's sister into it and says, well, I'd like to thank her because she did this and she did that and she did this and she did that. And the petty side of me wanted to say, motherfucker, you didn't do anything and she didn't really do anything, so I don't know why you're on my page. But the responsible side of me kept it short and didn't really say much. I let it, I let it slide because I wasn't going to disrespect anybody on social media or upset my mother, and that's what I did. Well, it immediately turned into a war because my husband stepped in and laughed about some stuff, and my cousin said, why are you laughing? I'm glad that my grandmother's dying is funny to you. Well, my mom said, just let it go, don't say anything. My husband's laughing because he knows how fake they are, and he knows how phony the whole situation is, and he's letting them know, I think you're fake, I think you're phony, and, you're making comments on here, and you're making it about yourselves, and it's not. Then a whole message started in the inbox between my husband and my cousin just pretty much berated me and bashed me and said that, my marriage isn't good. I don't own a house. They don't have skeletons in their closet. Everything's great about their lives. They have beautiful children, beautiful homes, and perfect marriages. The last time I checked, Nobody's marriage is perfect. The last time I checked, being a homeowner doesn't make you shit. All it does is put you in debt. The last time I checked, my kids are beautiful, and I have a good marriage, and I have a healthy marriage, and I have a real marriage. I don't have a marriage based upon someone taking care of me so I don't have to be alone for the rest of my life. I actually love my partner and want to be with him and enjoy my time with him. So all of this stirred a big, huge ordeal, and it kind of separated the family. And not to keep talking about the same topic, but this opened my eyes. I was cordial with them because my grandmother was still alive and I didn't want to upset her. And I know that deep down inside, she wouldn't want to see us fighting. Even her being in heaven looking down, I'm sure she's probably shaking her head saying, why can't you all just get along? I get that. I refuse to let anybody, no matter who they are, disrespect me, disrespect my family, and treat me like a piece of shit. And that, my friends, is what my mother's family, particularly my aunt, has done to me my whole adult life. And enough is enough. I don't talk to her. She is blocked in my phone. Her children are blocked on all my social medias and my phones. I don't have anything to say because I have surpassed a point in my life that nothing that's going to come out of my mouth is going to be nice. So I would rather just not deal with them at all. At the end of the day, we all put our pants on the same. We all go through the same issues. We all have problems. We all have ups. We all have downs. I'm not going to let somebody talk to me like don't have any self-worth and that I'm not somebody that is worthy of anyone's love or attention. My grandmother loved me. I loved my grandmother, and she knew that I cared, and she knew that I would do anything for her. So for my cousins to make it about themselves and to act like I was not a good granddaughter or that I wasn't good enough because I live here and I didn't come up for every single function is crazy. Some of us have to work for a living, and some of us don't get the opportunity to just sit at home all day and not do anything because our husbands make, a certain amount of money, and we live in an area where the cost of living is dirt cheap and you can live off a $50,000 income comfortably without two people working. Unfortunately, in Chester County, Pennsylvania, that's not the way it works. Things are expensive here. The cost of living is a little more expensive. And, let's face facts. In today's world, you need two incomes to make a family work. I mean, it's really just the sad but honest truth. I haven't spoken to any of them except for my aunt and my two uncles. I have not spoken to my mom's younger sister since my grandmother passed away. I have no interest in talking to them. I don't wish bad upon them, but I don't want a phone call when something happens to them because I don't care. I have been pushed to a point where I just am that person now. My mother tried so hard to maintain a relationship and to let them know how much she loves them, and they just don't care. And that, to me, shows someone's true character. If someone's willing to bend over backwards and try to make a relationship work with you, even when you're in the wrong, then you have a problem, and you're a toxic person, and you should probably work on that. Bottom line, no one should make you feel that you're not worthy and that you don't have something to offer. Whether it's a friend, an enemy, a stranger, and most of all, a family member. Just because somebody is your blood doesn't mean that they are family. Just because somebody is your blood doesn't mean that you owe them anything. If someone treats you a certain way and they treat your family a certain way, what you need to do is walk away. And that's what I did. I turned my back and I washed my hands. I don't need that in my life, and I won't tolerate that in my life. And I hope that anyone that's listening and has dealt with anybody in their family or any situation that kind of resembles what I talked about tonight knows that it's okay to not have that person in your life, and it's okay to cut those people out. Life is short, and life is very short, and you need to make the best of it. that doesn't mean that you have to be okay with people treating you a certain way and treating you like you are not worthy. And I can honestly say, since not dealing with them, my life is a lot better. I'm happy with my family. I'm proud of how far I've come in life. I have a degree. I'm married. I've had successful jobs. I have a job now that I love. I'm good with people. I make good, easy, fast money. No, I'm not a stripper. No, I'm not a drug dealer. No, I'm not a prostitute. I'm a server, and I'm good with people. I talk. I have a personality, and I think that helps in my business. I like talking to people, and it just comes easy to me. But, I have a degree. Am I using my degree? No, but I don't really care about using my degree. I care about being happy. I care about providing for my family, and I care about spending time with my family. I don't have to work around the clock. My husband works a lot, so I can be home, and for that, I'm very appreciative. But anybody that comes for my family or disrespects me or my family, I just don't have time for. And while I'll always remember the positives, the negatives outweigh the positives in this situation. And if the negatives outweigh the positives, you got to walk away, and you got to just say that there's a reason why this isn't going to be something that you're going to keep moving forward. I hope I've touched somebody out there. I hope that, someone can relate to my story, and just know that you don't have to feel guilty if you cut someone off because they hurt you or they hurt your family. The natural instinct is for you to protect your family and protect yourself and not deal with those kinds of people. Thanks, guys, and tune in next week. I'm not sure what my topic's going to be, but I'm sure I'll come up with something that's going to entertain you and maybe something you can relate to. Have a good night.
This has been a production of the Big Vito brand. Check us out at thebigvitobrand.com.